Heyo everyone, welcome to the second episode of my Mack launch coaster series, Server Surge. Today I will be working on custom supporting and theming this absolute beast of a coaster. Right now I am putting on the track flanges, which was a very painstaking process, but in the end I think it paid off because these supports, they're not my best work, but I think for this being like the first time I played Planet Coaster 2, I think it turned out pretty good. And yes, this Cobra roll, like last episode, went through many changes and it's still being edited right now. Another thing that I added was this flat ride. This is like a Gerstlauer Skyfly. They look really cool. I have never personally experienced one, but I know there's one at the Mall of America in Minnesota, which I do want to try sometime soon. Then I decided to add some planters around the outside just to give it more of a, lively feel, because let's be honest, the concrete pad isn't cutting it. And yes, don't worry, I will add plants in these later. And then I realized I added way too many, so I started spreading them out a little bit more, getting rid of a few just because I didn't want it to feel too crowded. And then again, there's also the clearance envelopes that I have to deal with, so no one's feet are getting whacked by a pot or a plant. I went with more tropical plants due to the fact that this roller coaster would be in a more tropical location. And then around the base of this, I also added some rocks to give it more of a natural feel. But then again, I don't know. I just wanted to give it, because the base of the ride is just supports, I wanted to dress it up somehow. And then I just skipped forward to where I finished the path, because doing the path editor in Planet Coaster 2, it's better than the original, but it also takes some time getting used to. Some of the tools for moving it around, they're definitely experimental, I guess. So I was just fiddling around with that for a while, and I eventually got it all figured out. Now the support that I'm doing right here is for the non-inverting Emmelman. This one, I know, Mack Rides, they do some cool supports. I think Helix at Liseberg has some definitely unique ones, so I wanted to try experimenting with that for this one. But the only problem with making fully custom supports, making them all look different and everything, it's very, very time consuming. So say a B&M coaster, they have a more standard way of connecting the track to the supports, where they either use a vertical track connector or a horizontal track connector, and these would kind of just adapt to how the track is banking. Whereas on these, the supports, they can go at any angle, and that just takes a little bit longer to, put all the flanges in and then build the supports around them. Now that I got that overbank finished with all their flanges and everything, I skipped forward again to the little S-bend section, because I had to chop out a lot of this video because I've heard from some people that 34 minutes is a little too long, so I did my best to shorten it. I know that most of my viewers don't want to see a 34-minute video, and I get that, but I don't know how I can shorten these up even more, just because there's a lot of film that went into this. I think there was 15 plus different recordings I had to go through, and this took me close to like 3 hours of editing, and this was before I had to edit in the voiceover and everything. So hopefully you guys enjoy. Hopefully you guys also stay through with the entire episode, because I know it's hard to watch, but just maybe chunk it up, take a break in between, like halfway or something. Right now I'm working on building a little tunnel area, because the queue to the Skyfly ride, it gets really close to the track, and I want to do kind of because I know nets aren't always the prettiest thing to look at, so I want to try doing like a cool tunnel thingy like that, so that it would like protect the people walking on the path from getting hit by something on the roller coaster. This one also kind of took me a while, because for some reason the rotation tool is bugging out. I have no idea why, but yeah. So then I eventually got it figured out, and then I'm putting it right underneath this camelback airtime hill thing to keep people from getting hit with whatever loose articles the riders have with them. Another cool thing that I think this like path, like the queue line to the Skyfly has, is that it goes right underneath the corkscrew, and I think that would make for a really cool photo opportunity, because it could be like right underneath it as the train goes by. I thought that'd be so cool. But then again, literally all of this coaster is around the path, so I guess anywhere on this would be a really cool spot to get photos. Like I said before, these flanges take a long time to get put in place, because this track, it's like hollow, so you can see all the little parts that you didn't line up perfectly. So like you can see there, you have to line up the little crossbar with the rails, just so for realism purposes the wheels won't be running into it. So that took a long time. And then also this Cobra roll, trying to line them up so they're at least a little bit symmetrical, is also a little bit of a challenge. And in the end, they're not perfect, because I was kind of done with this coaster. I was spending 20 plus hours on it, I think. It was kind of crazy, but I just wanted to be done with it, and I think the supports turned out pretty cool in the end. Another thing that I might do in my future coasters is, like, in order to make the Cobra rolls a little bit more, symmetrical, like same on both sides, so the supports look better. I wonder if I should try and make like a template in a way, like where like the track had to line up with the two like lines or whatever, just so the supports would line up, make it look nice. I don't know. The next coaster that I've been planning, I didn't do that, but I don't know. It is what it is. I tried my best. I keep saying another cool thing, but I don't know, I just love this coaster. Another really cool thing is also how the Skyfly gets kind of close to the track. I had to actually raise it up, because otherwise it would get dangerously close to the camelback right after the Cobra roll. But I think that would be really cool. Like, imagine you were just in the Skyfly doing all your like controlled flips and everything, and then there's just like a train right under you. That'd be really, really cool. The stall that I'm custom supporting, I decided not to do a support right in the middle, just because Mack's coasters, they can like do pretty long stretches without supports. So I think realistically this would be feasible, because there's two coasters actually. One of them's Flash and the other one is, it's not Blue Fire, it's the other Mach Hyper coaster with the loop around the lift hill. It has, I think it's close to 5 track segments without a support, which is kind of bonkers, but somehow they pulled it off, and I feel like I can do maybe like 2 track segments realistically for this. So I just went for it. Something that I was also working on was trying to keep this transfer track area clear, because if the train for some reason needs to be taken off the track, it needs enough space for a truck to get in there and take all the cars off. But a big problem was that this turn, if I made it any tighter, it would be way too forceful. So I tried my best to keep it within the bounds of realism, but I think in the end, if you're gonna take the train off, just use the other track, because I don't think this first one would be like doable to be able to take it off. But I mean, it might work. Depends on how creative the engineers and maintenance crews are. But oh well. And yes, this little I don't even know, is this a barrel roll, 0G roll, whatever you guys want to call it, into the brake run. This one also took me a little bit of time trying to reshape it, because the auto connect tool, it's a little hard to use, because actually no, it's not hard to use, it's just how you use it. Because what I was doing, it was like the track was just slightly unaligned, so it was almost too heartlined when you roll through it. So it definitely took a little bit of tweaking to get it to where I wanted it. And then this transfer track building, I wanted to make it look pretty similar to the station, so I kept this little tropical theme going. So yeah, spoiler alert, this is going to be pretty similar to what the station roof is going to look like, because I wanted it to look pretty similar to like a thatched roof, but that would be a little unrealistic for keeping the water out, because surprisingly thatched roofs, they actually are very waterproof, but just for, I don't know, other reasons above my pay grade, I decided to do the almost imitation thatched roof. And then here's a really cool clip of that weird custom support that I was working on. I personally love the look of this, just like different it looks from, I guess, anything that's been built. I don't know, I just really like the look of it. And then here you can see me putting in some footers. This was also a bit of a painstaking process, because I need to line it up with each of the supports, and then I don't know, it was just trying to make it look as realistic as possible, where the support wasn't going through the bolts, and making, like, adding the footer extensions it was a lot. And then this next support is also a little wonky, just because excuse me, just because I need to fit it in between the exit path and just like kind of wedge it in there. But I was able to connect 2 track segments together on one support, which I thought looked pretty cool in the end. Another thing that also took a little bit was adding flanges to the supports, because you have to make them align, and then you also don't want to make the track, or sorry, not the track, the support beams in the middle. Like, you need to keep it a reasonable length of metal in between, because no way a truck is gonna be able to haul like 100-foot piece of steel, because that would just be, I don't know, too long for your average, like, is it a semi or like a cargo truck to hold? So I tried to make it as realistic as possible and make them smaller segments. Also, the support right over the tunnel area, this took a little bit of finagling because it was in a weird location, and I wanted to be able to make just like 2 supports holding up this airtime hill. So it took definitely a few tries, but I got it in the end, and I think it looked pretty cool. But yeah, speaking of lining up things, trying to get these 2 supports together was also a bit tricky, because there is X and Y that you have to connect, and the rotation tool isn't the most precise thing ever. So yeah, eventually though, I got it. And then I'm adding some cross beams just for structural integrity. And then another struggle that I ran into while building these supports was the fact that I had to clone it over to the other side. And this also was a little hard to do, just because the track connectors weren't the most accurate, like at being symmetrical. And not to mention the track also wasn't symmetrical. So lining it up, you had to do a few edits here and there. So it definitely isn't perfect, but it got the job done. And guys, congratulations. From the looks of it, you are like halfway there. So nice job. Thank you for watching this far. And you know, if you made it this far, maybe I earned your subscription, maybe even a like too. And you know, don't forget to share this video with your friends and family. And then for this Cobra roll support, oh my gosh, that voice crack. For this Cobra roll support, I want to do more of a triangular pattern, just to give it more, I don't know, like strength, because if it's this tall of a support, one support sticking straight up isn't going to cut it. So I wanted to do 3, and it also just made it look pretty cool. And then of course, just messing around to try and make it a perfect triangle. So once I made this a isosceles triangle, or at least, is it? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's isosceles. I added all the flanges and made it so it's almost at its final stage before I duplicate it over to the other side. I also wanted to go with a brown support color, just so it could look almost like a, I don't want to say bamboo, but like almost like a wooden structure, just because the tropical theme, like almost palm tree-esque. Like, I know it's obviously not going to look like it, but just, you know, the general vibe. Also, if it sounds like my voice is dying, it kind of is. Talking for 18 minutes straight is not an easy task. So, yeah, sorry if my voice sounds horrendous. And then the support right here, I wanted to try and just make a cool looking support, and this would also save on footer costs, because this support only has 2 footers that it really needs. So I thought it'd be kind of cool to make almost this archway once I get the other support in. And I don't know, if there was a path going under it, that'd be like a perfect entrance to maybe like a plaza or something. And then once all these connection beams are in, I thought it looked like, honestly, almost like a modern art structure, just because, you know, you can't actually tell what it's supposed to be. No, I mean, I don't know, it's just something about it that looks so, like, super cool. And then I also had to size up the footer just so two beams could fit on one plate. And sadly, I couldn't copy and paste this over to the other side, so I had to start from scratch for the other one. Also, these Cobra roll supports, I don't know if I'm 100% happy with them. I'm definitely not going to go change them though. But, you know, for a first coaster, I think they look alright. And then this support right here that kind of cuts into the queue line of the Mack launch coaster. I did my best to kind of reroute it almost. And it definitely looks a little wonky, but I think it kind of gives the ride character, you know? And then, of course, some more flanges, because, you know, they're annoying, but they look cool. And then I had a cool idea for this, like, half themed, half practical fence. And I used the Viking Palisade, I think that's what it's called, and then the chain link fence. So it would offer good protection for the guests so they won't, like, you know, be stupid and climb over. And it would also kind of give a cool kind of tropical-y look. And then here we go, we skipped ahead again just so you guys wouldn't be here for 2 hours. And I'm adding some more like tropical vegetation. This scenery brush tool was actually kind of a lifesaver, because if I needed to place each individual tree, that would have taken ages, and I do not have that kind of time. So thank you, Frontier, for adding that. And then, of course, I did have to go and move some trees around just so the clearance envelope would stay reasonable and no one would have to worry about smacking their hand on a tree. Also, this queue line, I wanted to have like a cattle pen underneath the station. This would offer like some coverage in case maybe it was like raining outside one day, or if it was just like blisteringly hot and no one wants to stand outside for that long. So I decided to put most of the queue line under the station, where, who knows, there might be a pre-show. I personally did not add one, but in real life there might be. Right now I'm building the little transfer track station, or transfer track section. This I use the really big like support pieces, and I think it looks pretty good, like pretty realistic to what a real transfer track would look like. And yes, I know, it does get dangerously close to the station on that one corner. I also use the I-beams to kind of make a little cross brace in between, because, let's be honest, it would look a little weird if it was just some floating parts. But yeah, I guess for this entire transfer track section, I did use a lot of, I don't know what the exact name of it is, but these are kind of like the Aero suspended coaster supports. And then here I'm supporting that absolutely gigantic camelback right after the Cobra roll. These supports also were definitely a little unique, just because I had to make them look relatively similar, and they had to squeeze between track and paths, which is not an easy thing to do. As you can see, are these the most realistic? I don't know. That's up for some engineer to decide, but for what I'm doing, I think it works okay. And it would also kind of create a really cool like near miss moment when you're traveling on those two tracks that go underneath. Another cool thing about the path editor in Planet Coaster 2 is the edit tool. This helped so much with that exit path coming off of the Skyfly, because it's like in Planet Coaster 1, it was near impossible to edit the path after you were done placing it, but this just makes it so much easier. Some coloring and flanges later, voila, we have some absolutely goofy looking supports. These footers are also, they look a little high on the path, but this was because it would keep guests from like climbing the supports, because Six Flags Great America has some really tall supports around the path area. Is that because they don't want guests climbing up? I don't know, but I just decided to kind of, copy it a little bit, because if there's a support going through a path, it also just creates a larger like place that the guests could see. Oh, look, there's a support there, don't run into it. And then I added a custom catwalk along the final brake run, and this gives it another sense of realism. Also, I can theme it to be kind of tropical-esque. And then I also connected up that little turn piece to the station, in case, of course, they had to do an evacuation of the train, and riders had to get all the way from the brake run to the station safely. And here I am making the sign for the coaster. I decided, like, at this point, to call this one Surfer's Surge. It was kind of a name that I was thinking about for a little bit, but it was definitely a little bit of a little bit of an epiphany that I thought of. I also wanted the sign to kind of interact a little bit with the entrance, so I wanted to curve it so it kind of acts almost as an archway over the entrance to make kind of like a cool first impression. And then for another realism piece, I wanted to put like a bar across the back, because there's not floating letters in real life. So this would act like a little bit of a support. This curve sign was a little tricky putting the support on, but I figured it out. Just add a little bit of a smaller one on top. And see the little archway. I think that actually turned out pretty cool. And don't worry, I'm gonna recolor the sign just so it doesn't look so, plain. And I wanted to recolor it to the coaster's colors, because why not? And later I'll also theme up the sign a little bit with some surfboards. And here is also a really cool sign thing that I made. This is kind of just to show directions due to the fact that the path to the left is definitely almost a little hidden, because I don't know, I wasn't expecting that to be an exit for the area or just like an actual path. I was kind of expecting that just to be an exit for the Skyflyer, but I guess I made it into its own like legit path. And oh my goodness, we were at the end of the video. So thank you for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.